All right, this 4 o'clock hour. Dan Davis just joined us on the chat room on YouTube's channel at 365 Sports, among others. More conversations about even some of the actual games going on as far as this weekend, which is nice as well. Here's an NFL note. We're working on Mickey from Rick Gosselin, the great Hall of Fame writer. There's a red flag for NFL officiating. Through 17 weeks in 2020, there was never a weekend when 200 penalties were assessed. Never once all of last year. The high, 198 penalties in week 2. And the thoughts are that sometimes they enforce things a little bit more early because of the narrative or what they've been told. This year, there have been 214 penalties in week 1, 221 more in week 2. The trend, to me, is a bad trend. To me, it's just almost you can't enjoy a play without some sort of illegal contact, which I think is a crazy. I know they can shove a guy out of a route, but it's just too much. And Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, will discuss the Eagles and look back at the Chargers and the win that get them to 1-1. Mickey, are there too many flags?
You should have told me where you were going. I would have brought my white hat that the head referee wears to do this interview.
Yeah, well...
You know what? I think it is an indication of a lack of practice time because in the new CBA, the NFLPA wanted all these restrictions on how long you can work, how many days you can work, how many days you can work in pads. So, okay, that benefits the players, but it doesn't benefit the game.
Mickey, the taunting stuff, too, is kind of out of control, isn't it?
What, too much taunting or penalizing for taunting?
The penalizing, it's such a subjective thing, and it appears to be something that no fan really cares, or the players really care about.
Well, I think the personal taunting is what they're trying to eliminate, like getting up in a guy's face and making fun of him or belittling him. For getting beat on a pass play when you score a touchdown. I understand that. You don't need it. You can celebrate, right? You can celebrate. You can jump in the stands. You can do what you want on the sideline, but you don't have to get in a guy's face because at some point, enough's enough. So I don't really have a problem with that if it's egregious. And it's very personal. I just don't think what other sport does that? You know, is flipping your bat in baseball taunting? I don't know. It's kind of celebrating. Baseball thinks the next batter is going to get a pitch in his ear for flipping a bat on a home run. You don't see it in basketball, do you?
Not really, no.
Not really. It's more as guys going back down the court, there might be a little bit of, but not too many times, unless a guy stands over somebody who tried to block a shot. But yeah, you're right. Or somebody gets dunked on. But it's
celebrating's fine. Celebrate. You don't have to belittle your opponent. That's my point.
So, Mickey, they're obviously now looking forward to Monday night, but looking back on that big win over the Chargers, a lot to take away from that game, whether it be any variety of things. So for you, what were your major takeaways from that win over the Chargers?
Well, I think they showed they were versatile enough in the first 2 games when the opposing team wanted to take away the run, they threw the ball. And then in the next game when the Chargers wanted to make sure the Cowboys didn't throw the ball up and down the field at them, they ran it for 198 yards. So I think that was the good sign. The other good sign is that in 2 games, they've got 6 takeaways. Last year, they didn't get their 6th takeaway until the 8th game. And they didn't get the 4th interception that they have now in 2 games until the 11th game. So they've almost, from a defensive standpoint, existed on takeaways, which I don't know that can continue at this pace. Who would have thought after 2 games the Cowboys are leading the league in takeaways and leading the league in turnover differential at a +4 after what we saw last year? But the defense has to improve. they've given up way too many yards, especially in the passing game. They're ranked 31st in passing. Now, I understand they went up against, in the first two games, two of the better quarterbacks in the NFL with Brady and Herbert. But again, you got to do a better job. You got to do a better job of putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I mean, it took them to 2 minutes left in the first half against the Chargers to get their first sack of the season. If my math is good, that's 88 minutes. They went until they got the first sack, and then they only got one more. So that's got to improve. But having said that, while they get Randy Gregory back off reserve COVID, and they know they don't have DeMarcus Lawrence yet, probably not till after the bye, they also lose Dorrance Armstrong with a high ankle sprain, so he's going to miss this game. So now they've got a decision to make on what they do with Micah Parsons. Is he a linebacker or is he a defensive end? They need him at both spots potentially, because at linebacker, their nickel linebacker, Keanu Neal, now is on reserve COVID-19. Now it's for close contact, so he has a chance to be back if he can, in 5 consecutive days, test negative each day. So that's the dilemma going into this week, where, okay, you need more pressure on the quarterback, but you're losing two of your top 3 defensive ends are out, and your starting defensive tackle, Carlos Watkins, is out with a sprained knee. So as the world turns for the Cowboys, nothing is even easy, even the third week into the season.
Mickey, is this maybe, I don't know, could be a blessing later because they do have 17 games and they have some time to get some of these guys back and healthy, because it's going to be a long time before we see DeMarcus Lawrence, I would think.
I can't imagine he's back until after the bye. Maybe after the bye week, you can hope for that. And the reason I say that is he had surgery to repair the fractured fifth metatarsal, and usually that facilitates a faster healing process. I can't remember if I told you guys, for someone like me, it took me 2 months to get over my fractured fifth metatarsal 20 years ago. For a guy that's an athlete and they do surgery and put a screw in there, it takes 4 to 6 weeks. So 6 weeks would get him right after the bye. So they would hope he's back. But in the meantime, the versatility of Micah Parsons, it continues to be amazing, that a guy that hadn't played any defensive end since his senior year in high school goes out there and ends up with a sack, several pressures, and was pretty disruptive. Now, the key thing there, though, is he played 39 snaps. I don't know that you want to put him out there for a steady diet against the run, because at some point somebody's going to look at that and go, okay, he's pretty talented, he's pretty versatile, but he's still only 246 pounds. Now, how's he going to stand up against a steady diet of runs when he's got a 320-pound tackle in front of him and potentially a tight end too? So again, that's somewhat problematic. So they're going to have to dip into their depth here at that spot to help him out, even if he is the starting defensive end. And, Chauncey Golston, third-round draft choice, I think they'll feel like he's ready to get back out there. And Terrell Basham, a veteran defensive end, they're going to need more out of him too.
Yeah, one of the things about Parsons is he's explosive, no question. And at times, right there, he won a game maybe for him, or at least allowed him to help win a game. But with his size, no matter what he can do, it's not like he's Lawrence Taylor, who didn't matter what you knew he was going to do, he could still do it. They will learn from some of what he does. So he's going to have to change along the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, hey, give him maybe 2 years, and you might take that Lawrence Taylor thing back, because I think he's that dynamic of a player. He's just amazing to me, the things I see him do, the confidence he has, the love of the game that he has. He played 39 snaps at a position he had never played before, and yesterday during his interview, basically he wasn't complaining, but it was like, I can do more. I don't want to be regulated. And, if they want me to do linebacker and defensive end, I can do that. And somebody asked him, well, that's a kind of a lot to learn. And he goes, oh, I'm a quick learner. He goes, I got a photographic memory. And they go, what do you mean? He said, well, he goes, in high school, early in college, he goes, I was a procrastinator. He goes, and I would wait till the last day before the test to study. And he goes, and then I would get an A or a B. So I figured out I got a photographic memory. So all you got to do is tell it to me, and I'll remember it. So he wants to do everything. The guy doesn't want to come off the field, and you got to love that with a young guy that was your first-round draft choice.
Mickey, you think we see a steady diet of Tony Pollard going forward?
No, I think you'll see basically the same thing. You're going to see a 1-2 punch, and a lot of it will depend on how teams want to play defense. The Chargers decided that they were going to try to put pressure on Dak Prescott with their outside linebackers in a 3-4 / defensive ends. And now it was like, okay, can you stand up against the run to the outside? And they couldn't. And so they took advantage of it with Pollard on those speed runs to the outside while Zeke pounded them inside. So I don't think anything changes. They know they can rely on Pollard. And I thought one of the things they're starting to do more and more is put them both on the field at the same time. With basically Zeke in the backfield and Pollard sometimes motioning into the slot or starting in the slot. And now you don't know, is he going out? Is he going to run a sweep? I just think they're going to keep offensive guessing. So there's no need to bury Zeke because this guy had a 100-yard rushing performance for, I think, the second time in his career, maybe the third. And you saw Zeke on the touchdown run, right up the middle. Yep. And he's slamming into people. And defenses don't like that. So I think it's a great 1-2 punch. And I think the versatility of this offense, that if you want to stop the run, they'll throw it. And if you want to stop the pass, they'll run it on you.
No, follow up on the running game. Do you think Terrence Steele heard everything that everybody said about him a year ago?
I don't know if he heard everything, but whatever he heard, he probably deserved it because he wasn't very good last year. Unfortunately, he had to start as an undrafted rookie and didn't have an off season, didn't have a preseason. And then they said, okay, big boy, you're the starter now because La'el Collins is out for the year. It was somewhat unfair. So I think what he did is in the off season, he worked his tail off in the weight room. He got stronger, conditioning got better, learning how to play the game. He paid the price as an inexperienced rookie. And he's one of the guys, they had 10 awards in the off season for the top off season performers, and he got one of them. So I think he was immeasurably better in the game. He wasn't great, but better. They gave him help. The tight end was over there a lot. There was a couple times the running backs were going over there and chipping, but several times he held his own against Joey Bosa. To the point, you guys, in that second half, I was looking, I go, well, where's Bosa? Well, he was coming in on passing downs. He wasn't an every down defensive end / linebacker because they forced those guys to play the run. And it's a lot easier for offensive linemen to run block than it is to pass block, especially against a defensive end outside linebacker who basically wants to rush the quarterback. So they made him pay for that, right? By running Pollard to the outside. And that was one way they helped neutralize, I think, the Chargers' pass rush.
So, Mickey, ahead of Monday night, what are your thoughts on the Eagles, Jalen Hurts and company?
Well, a quarterback like Jalen Hurts is a load, right? Mm-hmm. He's problematic because at this point, 2 games in the season, not only does he lead the Eagles in passing, but he also leads them in rushing, 144 yards in 2 games. Those guys will frustrate you if you allow them to get out of the pocket in passing situations, or if you get lulled to sleep and he'll do the run option and keep it. So the key thing to me is you got to get pressure on him, but it's got to be contained pressure. You got to keep him in the pocket. You're almost better him running the play they call than ad-libbing back there and start scrambling around and driving you crazy. So I think that'll be the key to this Cowboy defense. their ability to get pressure on him. But again, as I pointed out, they're down 2 of the top 3 defensive ends, and will rely on Micah Parsons probably to maybe do both. Who knows? They'll keep the Eagles guessing, but I would imagine the Eagles have to spend time this week just in case they put him back at defensive end again.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate your time.
Okay.
As always, Mickey Spagnola with us Thursdays, 4:30. Cowboys will play Monday. So they had a Thursday game, had a long break, and then they played the Chargers, and now they get an extra day. And just imagine where things would be 0-2. Or, heck, I know they also could be 2-0. I think you take 1-1 and you move on. Jalen Hurts against the Cowboys defense, I know they have their issues, even though they're forcing turnovers. The speed of the Cowboys defense, unless I'm misunderstanding or not watching, seemed like that speed they have will be a problem for someone like him. If you had a slow, lumbering, even a physical defense, that's to me where he could cause some trouble.
The problem is the Cowboys just don't have a lot of guys over there right now, especially up front. You know, it's Randy Gregory and a bunch of, who's that guy?
And Gregory's back, correct?
Yeah, Gregory's back. He's
Okay.
back in the building today. So.
Okay. When we come back, Craig Smoke and his off the radar of various stories that perhaps may get overlooked because of all of what's going on in sports and much more. If you wouldn't mind, if you are interested, Sikkim365.com. We have a premium section if you would like to subscribe. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, 365 Sports, we would love for you to do that as well. And also, follow us wherever you can, like us or not. We appreciate you on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr has